Welcome back to the channel, everyone. As you can tell from the title, we're going to be looking at bike computers today. I have my existing Edge 530 from Garmin, and I'm going to be looking at the Hammerhead Karoo 2 just to see if this on sale is really a good competitor to the Garmin. Now, you might be thinking that the Hammerhead is really not in the same class as the Edge 530, and that's probably true because this is really a much smaller design, and this is a touchscreen, whereas this one is not. This would really technically be a better competitor to the Garmin Edge 1030 or possibly the 830, but as you can tell with the Garmin Edge 1030 price of this and the Edge 830 price of this, the Hammerhead at the price of this is actually a closer competitor price-wise to the Edge 530 540 series. So I'm going to start off right away and tell you this is not going to be a deep dive into all of the features of these. There are plenty of other videos out there that go into those specifics. What I'm going to be looking at today is my specific use case, which may be similar to that of what you may be using your computer for, and just see if it's worth it to make the switch from the Garmin ecosystem over to the Hammerhead Karoo 2. Look at some of the features that are better on the Hammerhead, some of the features that are better on the Edge, and really and truly, are those things that may be missing out of the Hammerhead deal breakers for you. So by the end of the video, we'll take a look and I'll tell you which of the two I'm planning to keep. One really important thing for me with bike computers is being able to just turn it on and quickly get out to your ride. So let's do a quick comparison of the startup time. Garmin is already up, connected. Hammerhead still starting up. At this point, the Garmin could probably get up and start recording, even if the GPS isn't ready or the sensors aren't fully connected. It auto connects those pretty quick after startup. And just now, the Hammerhead is fired up to the point where you could go ahead and get your ride started. So first things first, you can see just by glancing here, the difference in the screen is massive, both in size and brightness. Plus, obvious difference is that the Edge 530 here is not a touchscreen, whereas the Hammerhead is. One of the next things that I like to look at is screen real estate, how it's going to be used for your data fields. And this one actually really impressed me with how the Hammerhead is set up. Let's go ahead and get into data screens here. All right, you can see we've got the layout of timer, which I love to have on top, time of day, which I really gotta see just so I know what time it is if I need to be back for a certain thing. Speed, distance, calories, heart rate, cadence, power, and then of course you have different screens with different data on there. So I've got 1, 2, 3 data screens plus the map screen. Alright, you can see here on the map screen, which I actually much prefer the Hammerhead design for the map screen, because you've got a whole lot of real estate here showing the map, which is a beautiful color, and you actually still have data fields you can input on that map. So I find myself spending a lot of time actually on this map screen with just my speed and distance on there, because at the top status bar you also have timer and time of day plus battery. So those are 3 fields that are on every data page that you never actually have to utilize a data field to cover. Swipe over to the next page. You see here's a different set of data values, And because I don't have to take up screen real estate with time of day or the time of the ride, I have other values in here, which leads it to where I only have 2 data pages and still have basically the same amount of information. The next thing that I really like about the Hammerhead is the climber feature and Strava Live segments and how they look. The way that Hammerhead implements Strava Live segments and climber is in this screen at the bottom that pops up. You can actually minimize it or raise it back up. And if you have both a segment and a climber page up there, you have different tabs on there that you can actually flip back and forth between them to see whichever data you want to see on there. So that I think works really, really well. Much better than on the Garmin, which actually takes an entire page just for the climber status, or for the, or as Garmin calls it, the Climb Pro, or an entire status page just for the Strava Live segment. As for sensors, both of them are basically equal on what they can support. One of the big holdups for me previously was always wanting to use my radar that was integrated into Garmin for a really long time, and it took a lot longer for other head unit manufacturers to get radar support, but now that they do, that's really a non-issue for staying with Garmin. One of the features that I do like on the Hammerhead as opposed to the Garmin device is that you can actually assign certain sensors to certain ride profiles. For example, I have my road bike SRAM AXS group set paired only with my road bike profile, and the same with my Quark power meter on that bike. And on the flip side of that, I do have my gravel bike set up with sensors that are specific to it. So my Access Explorer group set and my Ferro Asioma power pedal that I use for that bike. So at least in that sense, it's not always searching for sensors that are not going to pair up with it. Now, one of the big challenges that most people discuss when they're talking about the Hammerhead as opposed to a Garmin device is going to be the battery life on them. And this is something that I can attest to. The Hammerhead is going to burn through battery a whole lot faster. However, in actual use, it's not a huge deal for my specific use case. If you're out doing 8, 10, 12-hour bike rides, then you might have a bigger issue with it. But generally speaking, I don't ride that long, and I never go that long in between charging my devices. So it's rare that my Garmin is going to end up at a 25% battery level, just because I always keep it topped up, and I never run into situations where it gets that low. Conversely, I've done 3.5, 4 hour rides on the Hammerhead already and still had around 70% battery life. So it's not super abysmal, but you're definitely not going to be getting those ultra endurance distances out of it. All right, so finally, this brings me up to one of the things that is really nice about the Garmin device that the Hammerhead really doesn't have an answer for, and that is the performance metrics that Garmin collects and analyzes and processes through their Garmin Connect dashboard that is web-based. So things like automatic FTP adjustment, recovery score, stress score, performance indicators, things like that are not going to be available on this. That is something that I thought I might miss, but realistically, I have not been paying super close attention to those metrics in recent months, maybe even up to a year. But if this is something that is crucial for you to maintain, is keeping an eye on your FTP, your training stress score, and you actually manage it through Garmin Connect and not another third-party application, then you're going to be missing that when you go to a Hammerhead. But for me, I've just been monitoring most of my stuff through what's available in Strava. I haven't been diving deep into the Garmin Connect details on this. I don't pay any attention to the recovery time that it pops up with every single time I finish a ride. So for me, it's not going to be a huge deal to miss out on this, because the Hammerhead is still going to upload all of those metrics to whatever third-party processing website of your choosing, Training Peaks, or in my case, Strava. So do keep that in mind. This is something that is going to be missing from it, but for my particular use case, I don't think it's going to be as big of a loss as what I initially thought it would be. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Super quick video going over my thoughts on the Hammerhead Karoo 2 as opposed to a Garmin device. Again, this is just my specific use case. What's important to you may be different than what's important to me, but overall, I just couldn't justify the additional cost to upgrade to the 540 or 840 series, just because it is so much more expensive than the Hammerhead, and the features that you get out of the Hammerhead are really impressive once you have the opportunity to use it. A lot of people say it's like going from an old Nokia flip phone to an iPhone with this, and I do kind of feel that, just because it is such a very modern style and design, whereas the Edge operating system is feeling pretty dated at this point. So with this video done, I'm going to be keeping the Karoo, I'm going to be selling the Garmin. Let me know down in the comments, given the choice, what would you be doing? And if you have made the plunge to the Hammerhead, let me know what you like about it, what you don't like. I haven't put a lot of time into it, so it's very possible that something you mentioned down in the comments there I haven't thought of, and it may come to plague me in the future. Anyway, with that said, thanks for watching, and enjoy your ride.